anthropomorphic means that it has human characteristics.
Like Mickey Mouse.
Even did you say Mickey Mouse?
Yes.
Mickey Mouse has anthropomorphic
He sure
characters.
does.
Yes.
And he's great. I'm trying to do a practice called street epistemology. I think you might be familiar with it, but just for everyone here, it's just a good way to have a conversation with deeply held beliefs without making the conversation turn into an argument, fist fight, or debate, making either side defensive. I normally never get the chance to speak to open atheists, and so what I'd hope to do is be able to talk about some of the questions that theists might have with regard to, your perspective. Where do you get your morals from? What do you think is going to happen to you after you die? And basically how you became an atheist and how you got corrupted. I'm an atheist myself, but I'm just wondering, from the perspective of a theist, why do you think atheism is a more reasonable position than theism?
The only value information has is however accurate you can show it to be. And if you can't show that it is accurate at all, then it has no value at all. So the guy that was just here talking before me starts telling you what God does, right? He just asserts that.
Right.
He's got nothing to back it up. There's no way to distinguish that from the illusions of delusion, right? You're just making it up. There's nothing there. Therefore, the information has no value. Can you show me that what you're saying is true? If not, why are you talking to me? That's where we are.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what you believe. The only thing that matters is why you believe it.
I like that. You need to have a good method for why you believe things to be true. What's your method?
Well, and the other thing is that you have to be able to tell when you're wrong, because the only way to improve your understanding, and only accurate information has practical application, as I said before. So you want your information to be accurate. That's what matters.
You want falsifiable information.
You have to be able to show where it's wrong.
Right.
And so you have to be able to show some evidence that it is correct. We seem to be under a different set of rules than believers are, because it is dishonest to assert empty, baseless speculation as to what were fact. We call that talking out of your ass. Except when it's religion.
Okay.
Then it's called absolute truth. Why? Why do they get to just make up whatever? And so you can have a Muslim and a Hindu and one of these Christians, and they can all sit down and make their same empty assertions about their different gods with equal confidence that each one of them is talking the absolute truth. There's no truth to any of it because there's no evidence that any of them are correct. None of them can show that their belief system is any more accurate than anyone else's.
Gonna play devil's advocate here?
Yeah.
How does not believing in God make you any closer to the truth?
You shouldn't believe in anything, God or not, unless you have evidence indicating that, and you should believe only tentatively even then. You want to be careful not to be fooled into believing something that's probably not even true. So you want to withhold judgment wherever possible. So, somebody will tell me something that maybe that happened, maybe it's possible. I will entertain that possibility, but I try not to be convinced. And there'll be situations where I have enough information that I'm overwhelmingly convinced, and it's possible even then, in some instances, to change my mind to say, no, you drew a lot of conclusions for the information that you have, but it was faulty because of these reasons, and then I have to change my mind. Or you were misinformed, or what have you. Or it was photoshopped, whatever. So the idea is that we don't want to be fooled into believing something. People will always bring up Psalm 14 to talk about how, Bible describes atheists as a fool, right? But the dictionary says that a fool is one who is too readily accepts improbable claims from questionable sources on insufficient evidence. So it's not surprising that both the Bible and the Quran use the opposite definition.
Can I throw something at you?
Sure.
What if there is a person out there that has a God belief that is based on love, who says God is love, God is understanding your fellow man, and all these things that you're saying about agents existing, not existing, doesn't matter because we can both agree that love exists. Why don't you just believe in that? That's God.
Okay, well, I will accept that love exists.
Okay.
And if this other person wants to redefine it to say that his God is love, then you don't believe in a God. You believe in love and you call it God. And as Abraham Lincoln said, in a quote that is commonly attributed to Abraham Lincoln, probably not actually said by him.
West.
Yeah, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Signed, Abraham Lincoln. The colloquialism is, how many legs does a dog have if you call a tail a leg? 4, because calling a tail a leg doesn't make it a leg. So call God love, doesn't make it God.
That's a nice one. I like that. I want to throw out one last thing. It seems to be the case that atheists have no ability to discern what is true from not true, or like not true, like good from evil. Like, yet atheists seem to not be going around killing people. I'm giving you the theist perspective here.
Oh, okay, got it.
The theist perspective here is that
for a moment.
the theist perspective is that atheists don't know what's good from evil without having a God as part of their criteria of determining which one's which. What's the method that you use to determine what's a good action from a bad action in a social consequence fashion?
Scott Clifton, a soap opera star who runs a YouTube channel called Theoretical Bullshit, did one of my favorite, possibly my favorite video on YouTube called A Treatise on Morality, where he describes what it means to be moral or right versus immoral versus or wrong. And it's based on whether you're causing unnecessary harm or suffering or prolonging life, and causing a benefit for some people. Because we were raised as a social animal, social species, there is a population mechanics at work at the societal level that wants to maintain people who have empathy for the family, friends, and fellows, right? And will have a tendency to remove aberrations where people have underdeveloped frontal lobes or no motor neurons or mirror neurons, rather, so that these people are selfish and cruel and greedy and apathetic, right? So we don't want these people, they're not productive to society. So we're going to favor the people who actually to step up and make altruistic decisions on someone else's behalf. This is how we ended up where we are. We already lost, as a species, our massive musculature that the other apes had before we had large brains. So the only advantage we had for a time was our camaraderie as a society, where instead of doing, as herd animals often do, you'd leave the slow one behind and everybody else escapes, we would have a child left alone and the entire tribe goes to defend it against the cat or whatever it was that was coming to threaten it. That's what held us together. That's the greatest advantage that we have over the other animals. Or it was for a while. Now we've got big brains too. But that would be useless if we didn't have the empathy.
Can I rephrase? It sounds like you're saying that there is a evolutionary benefit to have humans be cordial with each other in a social format, and we are now just the products of that, where we've enhanced our social environment with like laws, bylaws for rules, strict social contracts that we have with each other. And it's not that it was given to us by God, it's that we just slowly evolved that process of how to treat each other, not be jerks to one another. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so.
How's that not? What if I just gave you a list of 10 commandments right here of like, don't kill, don't steal? That's way better. It's here in black and white.
Way better.
Aron?
Way better.
Way better.
Okay, first commandment violates the First Amendment. The second commandment, that thou shalt not make any renderings of any kind, of any recognizable thing that is in heaven or earth. Neither shall you worship it, but that's not the primary commandment. You're not allowed to do a rendering of anything.
Okay.
How's that a decent commandment?
I get where you're going. I got one last interesting question for you.
Okay, what?
What's your opinion of atheists that 100% believe that there is no God?
Me.
Like, are absolutely convinced that that's not the case?
Is
that you?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful! Can I talk to you about that?
Absolutely.
So
yes.
you think that you think that certifiably 100% that there is no God whatsoever?
That's correct.
Not just the Christian God, but any God. Period.
Right.
How did you determine that? If you don't
It's
answer?
impossible by definition.
Oh, what's the definition? I would.
In order for some, remember I said that we have different rules. That where we won't say that something is proven like the believers will. If they find anything that would still be true in either case, they'll say it's absolute proof of their position. But we can't do that because that's dishonest. We actually have to have evidence that indicates that and wouldn't be true if the other case were correct. So we have something objective to verify, right? So we can't say that something is possible until we have a precedent or parallel or verified phenomenon indicating that such a possibility exists. We can't even say it's possible until then. And so we don't have a possibility of God.
True, we can't say that it's possible, but eventually we could determine that if it was possible or not possible. Like, if we don't have the method available to us right now to determine if a supernatural God exists, because we have no supernatural scientific methods. But in the event that we do, and we're able to ascertain that, in fact, no God exists in the supernatural realm, then we would have a better argument to say that there's no God, wouldn't you? What do you think?
Well, there's a handful of words that you kind of need to clarify.
Okay.
Knowledge and truth, and when we're talking about possible. There are things that are possible that we don't yet know are possible, right? But we can't say they're possible until because it would be dishonest.
We can't be justified in saying that they're possible.
The truth is what the facts are. They can tell you that they have the absolute truth, but if they can't show you the truth of it, then they don't have the truth.
Is that justify saying that there's no possibility? Like you're saying it's impossible for a God to exist right now?
It's impossible by definition. I've only given you the first part of that.
If we change the definition, would it then be possible?
If we change possible to mean impossible, yeah, if we reverse everything.
If we define what we meant by a God by like, oh, it's actually Greg, he lives across the street, he has lightning powers, he's from Asgard. Who knew, right? Like,
people do that, they did the God is love thing, right? And so they want to come out that God is the force that creates us all. Well, that's, again, you've made it so ambiguous that everything is God and thus nothing is God. So if you're going to be talking about what is a God, then you've got to conclude that your definition has to include all of the gods, the hundreds of gods that were worshipped by thousands of people for thousands of years, or millions of people for thousands of years. So if it doesn't apply to Odin, or to Hera, then that definition doesn't work. So for me, I've concluded that a God is a magical, anthropomorphic, immortal.
Okay.
Magical meaning miraculous, which again is impossible by definition. Miracle and magic have the same definition. They're the evocation of supernatural forces or entities to control or forecast natural events in ways which are inexplicable by science because they defy the laws of physics, which makes them physically impossible by definition.
Okay.
Likewise, it is impossible for God to exist as a disembodied mind absent the brain that created it, because a mind, by definition, is the data that is produced by a brain. So it's definitively impossible.
I'm gonna swap chairs off with you real quick.
Not a problem.
You can edit this out later.
Sure. Keep going, you're fine. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, it's so much better.
So the truth is what the facts are, and there are things that are true that we don't know are true, but we can't call it the truth until we can show that it is true.
How would you falsify that observation?
What?
Your position on there's no God based on this definition, how is that falsifiable?
How is the falsification falsifiable?
You said it's impossible because of these the magical, anthropomorphic, and disembodied mind and stuff like that. I guess
if you want to falsify the definition,
no, I want to see if is there anything that you would recognize where you'd be like, oh, okay, well then disembodied minds can't exist, or like, oh, okay, well then magic.
Well, you'd have to change the definition of what a mind is. So we just have to switch all the words around. So the truth is whatever you want to believe. And fact is whatever you want to believe. And like I said, the truth is what the facts are. And it has to be objectively verifiable. Believers will call about facts all the time, but if it's not objectively verifiable, and you can't call it a fact. Likewise, they say they have evidence. What is their evidence? Their evidence, I have this book.
I get you.
Right? But evidence is a body of objectively verifiable facts which are positively indicative of or exclusively concordant with one available conclusion over any other. So if you don't have facts that indicate only one option, then you don't have evidence. And of course AHE says we both have the same evidence. No!
I get you.
Logically, that's not possible.
And let me know if I'm being accurate. You're basically saying because of the operating words that we have to describe what a God is today, nothing could possibly fit that definition. It would actually require a change of that definition for there to even be a chance for a God like that to exist.
Yes.
It would literally require a formula.
Every God ever worshipped had miraculous powers. Every God ever worshipped was immortal in the sense, can you kill an immortal? Yes. We've all seen Highlander. There's a certain way to do it. It doesn't happen by cancer. Maybe a silver bullet is necessary. There are ways around it. The Nordic gods would die under a certain circumstance. There's a way to do it, but special means are required.
Okay.
They don't die of old age.
Okay.
So magical, anthropomorphic, immortal, and the anthropomorphic means that it has human characteristics.
Like Mickey Mouse.
Did you say Mickey Mouse?
Yes.
Mickey Mouse has anthropomorphic
He sure
characters.
does.
Yes.
And he's great.
And he's great.
Aron, thank you so much for the chat. Appreciate it.
This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish I got to argue with a believer today.
I had a train.